Hello and welcome everybody. My name's Ariella Indigo and I'm your host for the Multidimensional Human Experience Global Summit. So the reason this summit felt so important to create is due to the amount of us who are on awakening paths, often unconsciously right from birth, and due to our heightened sensitivities, many of us are sadly mislabeled growing up with reductive mental health labels and made to feel deficient or faulty in some way, as the advice that we're often given from mainstream society doesn't take into account our multidimensional natures and the spiritual awakening process itself. So through my own experience growing up and what I've also seen with many others as well, this linear third dimensional approach mostly serves to erode our self-esteem, dampen our natural intuitive abilities, and knock our confidence, which in turn gives rise to destructive behavioural habits like addictions and so-called antisocial behaviour, because our realities are not being properly supported and the correct guidance not being made available. And sadly, as we know, some highly sensitive souls are choosing to leave this planet or are not connecting with their missions due to their sensitivities and the current situation here on Earth. So this summit looks to address these issues and raise awareness about multidimensional humans to give fellow empaths, light workers, indigos and starseeds some support so that we can really get up and running with our incredible missions and complete what we've come here to deliver, which is to help in Earth's ascension process. So in today's interview, I'm honoured to be joined by Berube, who has an incredible story, which I'll invite her to share directly with you. But she had a life-changing experience which immediately put her on a new passion-filled trajectory. Anne's a powerful teacher and has many amazing strings to her bow. She studied under some world-leading experts in the field of Vedic wisdom, has been initiated into TMHE, is a Well Systems Institute facilitator, and is also an incredible life coach. Anne's book, Be, Feel, Think, Do, was published by Hay House in May this year, and she's also the founder of Auto Poetic Ideas, a social enterprise that supports healing and transformation by gathering people to share inspiring content through live experiences. Through her own workshops called the Happy Sessions, she has refined the process of Be, Feel, Think, Do, and has helped hundreds of individuals discover an inner freedom and a connection to their own unique source of sustainable happiness. So Anne, thank you so much for being here and a very warm welcome to you to the summit.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Ariella. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy, a true joy to be here with you.
It's lovely to connect with you, and I really admire your message and your work, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this with the viewers today, because I know you've got some awesome stuff and some great energy, so to share with everybody. So we're totally going to get into that. So Anne, could I ask, because you have got this incredible backstory and it's very much to do with where you're at today and the incredible work that you're doing. Would you mind just starting off by sharing with the viewers, please, a bit about this and what put you on your path?
Yes, and I think it's important to say that it is it's a lifelong journey, and it's not a place that we arrive to. And so even though this experience that has redirected my life's path happened 17 years ago, when it happened, it wasn't instant. It wasn't like suddenly I was on my path and everything was fine. And I think that's an important thing to mention to viewers, because we have this idea that if you've been through an awakening experience or a shamanic experience, or if you're awake, that this is it, that your life is easy and your life makes sense and you never get confused or you're lost again, which is so not true. Yeah. I'm still confused. I'm still lost. It's part of being human, of being a spiritual human, a spiritual being having a human experience. It will always have these ups and downs. But
I love that.
It's
That's so
important
true.
because we're really hard on ourselves, and we try to, to be all enlightened and all awakened, and especially if we're people, like you and our viewers, who are probably helpers and healers and guides and teachers and coaches. Even when we're on that path, like even more, our growth accelerates, and we need that support, and we need the people to help us remember why we're here and who we really are. And we need support even more when we're on this path. So
yeah, I think that's so true. Yeah.
So when I was 23, 17 years ago, I was coming back from golfing with friends, and the person I was dating at the time took a left turn onto oncoming traffic. And there was a half-ton truck that was barreling down the road, and I was in the passenger seat, and it hit our car. And on the impact, my liver lacerated in half, so down, the center of the lobes, and my lungs partially collapsed. And so I was unconscious. And when I would regain consciousness, I was trying to catch my breath. I couldn't, because my lungs weren't working properly. And then I lost consciousness again. And then that's when it happened. And I call it a mystical experience because it was nothing like I'd ever experienced before. I can say now, in retrospect, that it was probably the violence and the being jarred so violently inside our bodies that kind of brought me into this experience that was very unique. And I saw Ariella in front of my mind's eyes, like a movie, my life. It was the one that I was meant to live. It wasn't the one that I was living, but I could feel that it was mine, and it was the one that I chose before I came as a soul. I came to live a very different life and to go down a very different path. I could feel the love. I could see the people that I loved and the people that loved me dearly. I could see what I did and who I was with. And it felt more real than anything else I had ever experienced. When I woke up the next day in the hospital, I had no points of reference to explain what had happened. And I didn't have anyone around me to talk to about that. I think a lot of people would have thought that I was a little crazy, or that I maybe dreamt it. But the experience stayed with me so strong, almost like a compass, a new compass, to help me merge the two realities. The one that I was living inside myself, and then the one that I was living outside myself. And I think that's something that many viewers can relate to, this idea that who I am inside, who I know myself to be, is not who I show the world or how I live my life on a daily basis. And that's really tiring, to live two lives.
Yes.
To be duplicates like that, to have this dichotomy and this dissonance between my energy and my soul, and then this person that I am presenting myself to the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yes. So that's the experience that I had. And some people call it a near-death experience. It's not like Anita Morjani or I can't remember his name right now. He's actually English. His name will come back to me. It's not like I saw a tunnel or saw my loved ones, and it wasn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a powerful mystical experience that it completely redirected my life. And when you're 23, you are supposed to make mistakes and go down the wrong path, and you're not supposed to have it all figured out. But somehow I wasn't meant to be on the wrong path for very long.
Yes, you were redirected. Yeah, very powerfully.
Yes.
Wow. Well, so glad you came through that and are here to tell the tale today. I mean, you must have gone through a huge recovery process after that as well, right? With the accidents.
The physical recovery process wasn't as intense as the emotional recovery process.
Right.
I think that I felt like an alien in my life when I recovered. I felt like I didn't really belong in my life anymore. And I had to make decisions to change myself and to find myself. And the accident had really reminded me of how inconsiderate and unattentive to unconditional love I had been. Unconditional love was swirling around my life. It was around me, but because I didn't have any points of reference for it, meaning that it wasn't something that was modeled to me when I was growing up, I couldn't recognize it, and then I couldn't accept it. And so those first few years after the accident was about, okay, I need to do some work on myself, to love myself, to find myself, if I want to have a chance at having beautiful, loving relationships in my life.
Yeah, I'm I'm really resonating with so much that you're saying, Anne. You know, I think we all have, like you say, we all have different entries into that space. But I think, you know, certainly myself, and I'm sure many people listening can relate to what you're saying. And then we all have certain programs or situations that wake us up in different ways. It happened to you. I mean, 23 is young for that to happen. I think for a lot of us, for me it was kind of mid-30s, and I think that seems to be more common. But you were obviously what needed in service, would you say, before then? Is that why? What is your take on why that happened then?
That's a really good question. To be fully honest, I think that it happened at that age because I needed to find my way to this relationship that I have now.
Right.
The relationship I was in before, I mean, you know, everybody does their best and are at their core so beautiful. But in this relationship that I was in, I was not demonstrating self-love, meaning that I was allowing someone to be quite nasty to me and to be very judgmental, and I was letting that happen because I didn't have any other way of knowing what a relationship looked like. And what happened when I was able to, you know, you might relate to this, like when I first met my husband now, that love that was so unconditional, sorry, was feeling almost like foreign, and like I didn't know where to place it. I didn't have a concept for that, and it almost sometimes was annoying. Like it's too much. You don't know how, because you don't love yourself that much. You don't know how to receive that kind of love. And so when I was able to see it for what it really was, and to recognize that I needed to love myself as much as that, to find my way back to this person and to establish a relationship and a committed future together, I feel allowed for other doors to open that would not have been able to open had I not accepted that love in my life. And so I could have spent my whole life trying to find to love myself at that much to be able to be in a good relationship, and it could have been all I did in this lifetime. But I felt that I needed to finish that first so that I could propel my my work and have this because when you come home to a place where you feel safe and you feel loved, and you know that there's authenticity and honesty, and that you're there for each other, everything else is easier.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're talking. I love the way that you share from your heart, and it's very inspiring, and it gives people permission to be honest as well with themselves, and vulnerable with others. And I'm also a huge supporter and advocate of this honest sharing. And you've obviously I know that you've built some incredible programs around that, because it is just so healing to the language of the heart, to hear that and to share that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. It's such an important component. We crave real. We crave to feel each other and to know this authentic relationship with each other. And I see, I was very aware that when I was writing the book, that I was laying it all out. But if I'm, as a spiritual coach, if I'm going to invite clients to open and to be honest, I have to be able to do the same. I have to be able to be comfortable with all aspects of myself. And when we dive deep into the shame and the guilt and the emotional baggage that lives in our bodies, we free ourselves. It's very freeing to be able to be naked. If you know that you're safe within your body, and you have a few people in your life with whom you know it doesn't matter what you say and who you are and what you do, that they are there to support you, it's very, very freeing to live from a place of an open heart.
Absolutely. And it comes back to that unconditional love, which was of course this huge catalyst when you woke up and realized, okay, I've been missing this. It's been around me, but I've not seen it. And I can totally relate to that, and that realization of I'm not getting this somehow. Why can't I attach this? Why can't I receive this? And I think that is, for me anyway, that's still work in progress.
Absolutely. And, one way that I find really helpful to explain or to help people wrap their head around this concept is that, and this is your whole program around multidimensional beings, human beings, is that if I consider myself to be a human being first and foremost, with a body and a mind, and then sometimes I have spiritual experiences, my life will be fragmented. And the multi-dimensions that, you speak about will feel like separate from each other. But if I remember myself to be first and foremost source or God or divine, and there's only one reality, and that everything stems from that one reality of interconnectedness, and that from that reality and that truth transmutes all the other dimension of being an expression here on earth, then my life and my reality and my relationships don't feel fragmented, because I'm living in one reality. I have merged those two worlds, or those 4, 5, 6, 7 worlds, right? Some people feel like they're different people in different situations. And it all comes back to, who do you consider yourself to be? What is your identity? Who do you know yourself to be? First and foremost. But not just know. Who do you know yourself to be? And when we go within and remember moment by moment and little by little that we are so much more than our minds and our bodies, and that we are it, we are the divine, we are God, whatever the word that works for you, then we know that safety is found within, emotional safety is found within, spiritual expression is found within. It's and the healing is found within. None of it is outside of ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. Would you be able to share a bit more about that, Anne, in terms of, because I hear you, integration is key, and it's knowing it rather than knowing it, which can sometimes be a bit tricky
Yes.
to sustain. Have you got any tips for our viewers, strategies around things that they might
Yes.
be able to do?
Well, one thing that comes to mind right away is trusting in your subjective experience. And we read a lot of books on spirituality, and we read the ancient texts, and we read pop psychology, and we read all the spiritual teachers' books. And when we understand the concepts here, it's one thing, and it's good. Like, it's a bridge, it's a way in for sure. But it's not it. It's the map. It's not the territory. The territory is the physical body. The territory is the inner energetic field that's inside my body, below my neck. And I say below my neck because most of the time I live here. We live here.
Yeah.
But if I can bring my attention and my breath somewhere below my neck, so in my heart space, or in my belly, or in the twinge in my solar plexus, we discard those stirs as physical issues or health issues, and we get scared, and our attention goes right back up, and we're trying to figure it out and manage and control. But the subjective experience of spirit moving through the body is a kinesthetic one. And so for me, I remember the first time that I really experienced that. And if it's okay, I'll share it with
Please.
you.
Yeah, amazing.
So in the book, I talk about, after my son was 1 year old, and I was still on the path, but I was dealing with pain, a lot of pain, and chronic pain for 2 years. And I went into a program where I discovered how much emotional baggage I was carrying from my past, so much baggage. And it was creating so much pressure that it was the culprit for the pain. And I won't go into details because that's a chapter in the book, and I think it kind of explains itself really well. But after that course, the pain went away, and I didn't just know who I was, I knew who I was. And so this teacher offered a course a couple of weeks later, and one of the guarantee, Ariella, that she said to us was that on Saturday evening, we would meet our higher self. That we would have an an undeniable experience of our higher self. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty big promise. Really? That's going to happen? And so, the workshop starts on Friday night, and all day on Saturday, she preps us. We do a lot of breathing. It's a shamanic workshop around Huna, which is the shamanism of Hawaii. And it's beautiful. We do exercises and practice chants. And in the evening, she instructs us to not have dinner and to come into the room at a certain time, and that this is when we're going to have an experience of our higher self. So I walk in the room with the group, and the lights are dim, and there's candles everywhere, and she's really set the mood. And she's wearing this robe, Ariella, like it's mood making, right? She's a shaman, and there's candles around her, and we're all very impressed and have no idea what's going to happen. And so I sit down, and we're in a circle, and she starts to instruct us to breathe deeply, deeper than normal, like really deep in-breaths, reaching for the in-breath in the belly and then breathing out through the mouth, just really allowing our bodies to go into this parasympathetic state, which is this relaxed state. And then she begins to chant this powerful Huna chant. It's vibrating in the whole building. It's so loud, and our eyes are closed, and we're breathing. And as I'm breathing, I can start to feel this tingling all over my body, like almost pins and needles and ants, that
I know the feeling. Yeah.
And my first reaction was like, you gotta be kidding me. I am about to meet my higher self. I'm telling my body, don't please don't do this right now. Because I'd had restless legs before, and
Right.
so I associated to that right away. But the more I started to breathe, the more intense it became. And then I took a deeper breath, and then my whole body started to vibrate. And then I realized, oh my goodness, this is it. This is it. And I was dismissing it as something that was against me. I was telling my body, the relationship I had with my body is that it was not a conduit for spirit, and that it was also not my ally. And when I realized that and surrendered to that, this sensation moved through me, like a very similar experience than the one I had in the car accident that night.
What I was thinking, yeah.
And I realized, wow, I knew I was made up of energy, but now I know that I am this energetic being. And the reason why I bring up this story is because we don't trust our experience.
I love that story. I love that story, and it's such a great it's such a great descriptive story to prove, you know, and I totally relate to this, that a lot of us are not trusting our bodies. Just last night I had a very near out of body experience, astral projection experience, and it's these tingles that go up and
Yes.
And it started happening to me not last year, or no, 2 years ago. And it took me about a year to trust and to let go.
Yes.
Because it was like, what is my body doing now? You know, and it's that anxiety. But actually, it's this beautiful spiritual experience. And like the love that I had been blocking out for many years, it was those experiences as well that I blocked out of my existence.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I was saying. And that's, and the fact, you know, I love that you brought it back to love, because you saying, trusting your body and letting go and surrendering to that feeling is saying yes to love, because love is energy. And love is movement. When you surrender, you allow the movement to happen, and then it's less intense the next time. But when we interrupt it, it's intense. It hurts.
Yeah.
Painful.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. Cool. Okay. So we've spoken a bit about sensitivities and some of the challenges that people are having, but can we go a bit deeper into that area, because I know you've got a lot of wisdom and advice on how, and I liked something that you said around people not trying to manage their sensitivities. Can we pick up from that point? Because I think that could be very interesting.
It is possible to live with an open heart moment to moment in our daily lives. That is possible. It's all about deepening our trust of our own body and our own heart, and deepening the intimacy, our spiritual intimacy and our emotional intimacy. And at the beginning, it's intense. It's very difficult when we have learned so much not to trust others and trust ourselves when it comes to opening and softening our heart. So if you're someone that's at the beginning of the path, you're aware that you are closed, but you don't want to remain closed, then I would suggest to find a really good workshop or a teacher or a coach, someone that you know can help you with somatic release. And what I mean by somatic release is emotional release. And I know that I didn't know I had a problem with that. So I'm sure many people are listening and like, no, I am fine. I am good with my emotions, because it's hard to know when you're in the dark and you're in your own shadow. It's hard to know that what needs to be addressed. So finding someone we can trust, either in a workshop space or in a one-on-one space, I think is really important. But what I want to say is that it gets easier
Yeah.
And it really does. Every time you do it, it becomes easier, it's less intense. And not only does it heal the past, but it thins the veil between us and our and spirit and the divine.
Mm.
And so it's a double whammy. It's a beautiful, double gift. You get to heal and release the past. Your body becomes more etheric, more light, because when we carry the past without allowing it to be processed, we keep our body very dense. And when we're dense, it's harder to connect with spirit, and it's also more difficult to connect with our intuition. When we begin the healing process, and the first time, and this is in the book, the first time I really allowed myself to open up, it was not pretty. The sounds that were coming out of my mouth was like a small animal dying. Like, I think we think that we want to stay dainty and pretty and very proper, but it's not. It's like birth. It's supposed to be messy, and it's supposed to be intense. And especially as women, we have all these beliefs around tears. Well, I mean, men also have a lot of beliefs around tears and sound and our voice, and it's all stuck in here.
Yeah.
And but the more we do it, the easier it gets. And the next thing you know, you're on this path where it becomes a way of living. Mm-hmm. And you get new assignments every time to move you to the next level.
Yeah. That's great advice, and I love the way that you keep on bringing it back to the body, mm-hmm. and the release out through the body. Yes,
and I mean that's a big part of my work, is that it's based, Bruce Lipton talks about that, Candace Perth, both brilliant new scientists really in the field of epigenetics, which says that the environment that we grew up in registered in the cells of our bodies. So when we go to where the memory lives in the cells of our bodies, we can change that in a quantum moment, in a breath. But when we try to talk about a problem and dwell on it at a logical level up here, we're in the map again. We're not in the roots of where the problem was actually ingrained. Mm-hmm. And so there's a real speed to the healing when we go into the body and see, okay, where did that event, that trauma registered? Is it in my heart? When somebody says something and it triggers me, I hear thoughts, or I feel, or I see thoughts, but before the thoughts come up, there's a physical reaction in the body. Where is it? Is it in my solar plexus? Is it in my lower back? Is it my lungs just feel like they want to shut down, or my throat? I feel like I have a frog in my throat. Yeah. And so really rebuilding this relationship with your body as a communicator and a processor of energy and information.
Mm. Yeah, very, very important. And I know, Anne, that there will be a lot of star seeds that are tuning into this summit, and beings who perhaps consider themselves as being from higher dimensions. And I also consider myself as a star seed. And for many of us, the body and connecting with the body is very difficult. It's a real challenge that we have.
Yes.
But it's something that can be, in the right environment and with the right support, it can be incredibly freeing. I know that from my own experience, but it's something that I resist at the same time.
And it's not just freeing, it's actually really crucial because of the work that you came here to do. In order to do it really well, it has to come through your body.
Yes.
And the reason why it's so difficult is because of the traumas of childhood, right? Yeah. And there's a real intelligence in why that happens. And there is an intelligence why, as a soul, you and starseeds beings have chosen the environments that they were born in, because in order to be able to teach with such authenticity and integrity, this one thing that you came here to teach and to share with people, you had to experience the absence of that thing. So the absence of the thing that you came here to teach was very, very important. So your gift to the world is that thing you didn't get as a child.
Mm-hmm. Yes, powerful, powerful. I'm going to process that. Yeah, that's a very powerful statement, and I think that is very true on many different levels. Purpose often comes from pain, and that thing that we felt we lacked. Not always, but it absolutely can. And I think for a lot of for star seeds and sort of other children or adults of higher consciousness, if you want to use that phrase, I don't mean to separate us. We are all absolutely equal, but there are differences, as we know. For some of us, talking about kids with ADHD, autism, many people believe that it's because their consciousness is wired into higher dimensions than the third dimension. So they're not fully in their bodies, right?
Yes.
I think that can be the same for a lot of star seeds, and it can be quite a traumatic experience coming into that dense reality. So I always, from personal experience as well, and you've said it yourself, find a good teacher, find support. I think that is a journey that needs support and understanding. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And we need to be there for each other. We need to say, to our close friend or our partner or whoever we trust, to say, okay, I really want to just hear myself talk out loud here until I'm done about this. I just need, most of the time we don't need to do much for each other. We actually just need to listen until the person's done. Like, how much do we do that? We interrupt, we try to fix, we try to manage. We don't want them to hurt, so we try to help them. But most of the time, what we need to do for each other is to just sit and listen to one another until the person is completely done and has heard themselves and the sounds have come out of their voice. And we don't do that enough for each other. The sound coming out of the voice chakra is a really, really powerful healer, especially for starseeds, because of this reason. In order to bring the light, the sound integrates the light into the body and also makes it so it affects the people who they interact with. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the time it's where it's stuck.
Yes.
It's where it's stuck. And there's a chapter in my book called Finding Mother, and I have this experience of going back to a trauma of my throat, which has been a real big theme for me in my life. And so I invite viewers to check that out, because it's a really powerful exercise of putting sound to what hasn't been expressed and putting sound to who we really are.
Wow, that's really important. And you would never know, Anne, that you had issues with your voice. You are such an incredible speaker and sharer, and if you are a living example of how these exercises and the way that you have managed this issue for you can turn around, I think everybody should go and read this book and read this chapter. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the book is about, it's the messy bits in between of really knowing and then applying it. And I think there's a lot of books out there about spirituality and how reality is, but this is kind of what it looks like. It's it's messy, it's confusing. You take two step ahead and then you feel like you're taking 10 back. You want to give up, but then there's this opening in your heart that won't let go of you. And so you learn to trust it. And then the more you trust it, the more it opens up and it reveals itself to you. And it's the book is really saying, yeah, you allow yourself, give yourself permission to just honor how it is for you, and know that it's part of it. It's all part of it. And that the more you commit and trust yourself, the more you will be rewarded from within by yourself, because it's worth it. It's really worth it. You know, and one of the things, like I want to say quickly about the voice, one of the things I did that was really helpful, Ariella, is I joined a choir.
Wow, okay. Yeah. Amazing. Very brave.
Well, you know, nobody can hear you because it's a choir. So
Yeah.
I would stand there in the back and just sing my heart out, and tears would come. Because
Wow.
when is the last time that I allowed myself to fully be exuberant with my voice like that? I was probably 5 or 6 or 7, and I love to sing. But then the world poured in, and that was definitely something I was never going to do in public ever again. So joining a choir is really, really healing.
Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, doing those things that we have the most resistance about can be the most healing and gratifying and empowering, right? To push through them.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome. So Anne, we've got a few minutes left, and it's like, God, I've got so much I'd like to chat with you about. But one of the things that I want to get your take on, and you perhaps started off a little bit about sharing that we don't just wake up and it's like boom, you know, we're there. But as you know, there are lots of people who are asking questions about their purpose, you know, understandably, and people know that they have got gifts that they've come here to deliver. You've been through a massive experience that I don't think most people would want to have to go through, right? To connect with their path. I've been through a lot of trauma as well, and I don't think that I would recommend that path. How can people find their path and their purpose without having to have these massive crisis situations?
Well, I think that if someone asks themselves the question, why am I here? Why did I come to Earth? I think that if the person is open to asking that question, it's an indication that they are here for a higher spiritual purpose. Or else it wouldn't really be something that would cross their minds. They might think, okay, what's my career? What's my job? That's a whole different question. Like, we're asking about, why did I come? Like, what is my sole purpose?
Yeah.
And so there's a few things that come to mind. One of the things is to really notice the breadcrumbs that are on your path. So noticing the times when your heart really opens up in awe or inspiration. So you're listening to someone speak on stage, or you're hearing a song on the radio, and you're driving down the street in your car, and you're feeling so inspired, and your heart opens and you want to cry. You feel so good in this moment. Perhaps you just looked into your newborn child for the first time, or you're looking at the sunset and it just takes your breath away. In those moments, it's not so much the content, it's more the feeling and the essence inside your body. So I would ask myself the question, what is this essence that I'm feeling in this moment? What is this little the nature of this essence inside my body? Is it connection? Is it openness? Is it freedom? Is it love? What is it? And you're going to name it, and it won't be it, but you'll be putting a mental reference point to that experience, and then you're going to follow the breadcrumbs to the next time that your heart feels like it just wants to crack open. You're so happy, or you're so even sad. Like, if there's a moment that breaks your heart with sadness, but you're allowing the tears to flow and to really surrender to the fullness of the feeling, in that moment, there's an essence, because whether it's sadness or joy or pleasure, if there's an expansion, that's it. That is who you are. And so connecting to those little breadcrumbs, and really there's a thread. If you look from the moment you were born to the day to today, there's a thread in your life that has been similar, that has been continuous, and that really informs who you are and how you are manifesting and creating in this world. And so noticing, what are those things that have come really easily to me? What are the things that I do? And when I do them, time goes by so slowly, like, or fast, but I don't have notion of time. I feel like I'm weightless, that I feel like I could do this forever and I wouldn't get tired. The other thing that comes to mind, Ariella, is to continue that thread of what we talked about earlier. We had, as souls who came here as teachers, creators, writers, supporters, guide, healers, we have soul contracts that we engage in with other souls. And so if I wanted to come here to teach unconditional love, and I share this with my soul group before I come here to earth, and I say, okay, I want to teach unconditional love. I want to be a mirror for that. I want to be an expression of that, so that I can help people remember that they are that. So then there's souls around you that say, okay, well, I'll help you with that. And in order to be able to really learn that for myself and to be able to teach it in the best, the most integral and authentic way, I'm going to need some of you guys to help me experience the opposite.
Yeah.
So what is that thing that was taken away from you? What is that thing that you weren't seen, you weren't acknowledged or validated for when you were a child?
Yeah.
That's your gift. That is your gift to the world.
Wise words, very wise and very inspirational. I think that will give our viewers and myself a lot to think about. And I know there is huge truth in that. So thank you for sharing that. And what I'd like to do now, and I would love to carry on chatting with you. You're an incredible inspiration and teacher. I love your heart-centered sharing. I really do.
Oh, thank you, Ariella.
But I also want to tell our viewers about your incredible free gift, because they can go on a further journey with you after the summit and tap into some of the knowledge and the techniques and wisdom that you shared today. So could I just invite you, Anne, to tell our viewers about what that is?
Yes, so it's a micro e-course on sustainable happiness. And so it's videos where I'm sharing some teachings around the concept of happiness that is internally referenced as opposed to externally referenced, so that we can tap into a sense of joy that is always accessible, that is always there, and that it doesn't really fall on the responsibility of other people or careers or physical circumstances or material acquisition. And so this mini e-course is something that I'm offering to the viewers to continue the journey with me.
I'm such a fan of that. I have been, many of us are the same, I know, but beating the drum for quite a few years now about it starts on the inside. That's where the focus needs to be. That's where, we can access our joy, access our happiness. But we need a process often because of the way that we're wired, right? We need a process to be able to really tap into that. And I think it's amazing that this is what you're offering the viewers of this summit to be able to access. So I really encourage everybody to access that link, to click on that link and go and grab that and go on that further journey. I think you'll all agree, Anne's got a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and love. I can absolutely see that, and authenticity to share with us all. So I really recommend that you do that, and I'm sure it's going to be an incredible process. I'm going to be doing it as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Anne.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Ariella, and congratulations on your beautiful work.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much. It's a joy. It really is. As you know, the path of passion and bliss, it's just very enriching to my spirit. So thank you. It's been amazing to connect with you and to share with you in this way. I've learnt so much, and you've given me a lot to think about. And yeah, I feel very nice and grounded actually after this interview, and you've given me a lot of reminders about being in the body and the wisdom of the body, and just trusting and integrating and authenticity. I love so much of what you've shared, and I hope that's the same for all of the viewers that are watching. Please reach out to either Anne or myself. Looking forward to seeing you all very soon. And thank you so much again to Anne for a wonderful, wonderful interview.
Thank you so much. So much love.